Hi, Mrs. Grisak here again, and today I'm going to be showing you how to get started on the IsoAxis Kaleidohedron project. This is what your paper will look like when it's all fully colored, but before we get to that point, we need to choose some designs. We also need to choose some colors. And for my class, you guys are going to be using all 5 color harmonies that we learned this year: complement, monochromatic, triad, analogous, and split complement. Notice that the complement is only a half of a design because the other half of the design is over here. When we fold this thing, those 2 sides are going to be facing each other, kind of like that, okay? And so at least one of the colors from your complement has to be in your split complement so that they look like they go together. Now, when we did color harmonies earlier in the year, some of you finished those worksheets and turned them in, and most of you did swatches like this because I'm going to remind you again that whenever you pick a color, you get to use all the tints, shades, and tones of that color. So I want you to find several colored pencils that fit into the category of whatever color you have. So you can see the reds here. So I have some pinks and some reds and even a dark red. All those are tints, shades, and tones of red. You must have at least a couple pencils for every color that you choose. The more pencils you have, the better and more fun it will be actually to color your design in. So find several for every color, and I want to see your swatches. And then you can see I've crossed them off. That's because those ones didn't really match. Sometimes when you color with a pencil, you think it's one color, but it's actually not. So you know that happens. It's okay, because I kind of want to see your work. Just like your math teacher wants to see your work, I want to see your work too. You do not have to color in your designs. We're going to actually use these to trace onto our final copy paper. So don't color them in, but you do need to know what you want your designs to look like. Think about your final copy work and what you want that to look like, and make your designs anything you want. You can literally do anything you want. Be creative. Use your imagination. Anything that you want to draw is okay in here, obviously, as long as it's appropriate. So once you have that done, then you're going to use these squares, which should be the exact same size as these, because I went to a lot of work to try and make that happen. Of course, this is a copy of a copy, so I hope the copy came out the same size as the original. So after you turn this work of art in, obviously take a picture of it, turn it into Google Classroom like we always do, then you're going to actually cut it apart. So this is actually design number 2. Design number 1 is going to happen right up at the edge. I'm going to start with design number 2 just because it's easier to show you a whole design than a half a design. But the design number 1 will go at the top. Design number 2 is going to go in the second row. Design number 3 is going to go in the middle. Design number 4 in the 4th row, and so on. They actually match up. If you put this right here, even with your paper, they match up just like that right onto here. Okay, so this design is going to go there, and it's going to go in, so half of it will be in the first triangle there, and then it's going to go on all of these, and then the other half of it will appear over here. And the way we're going to trace these is super easy, you guys. Let me zoom in a bit so you can see what I'm going to do here. Okay, so I have at my disposal, sorry about that noise in the chair, I have these little graphite papers. Remember earlier this year when we actually used the graphite papers to trace our faces when we did our portraits? I have some leftover little pieces. I hope I'll have enough for all of you, but make sure you have the right side facing down. Take your piece like this, and then also make sure you have it in your grid. Ooh, we might have to cut these graphite papers to be perfect. Got to make sure this is actually in your grid precisely. And then I like to trace with a ballpoint pen. Now, if I end up not having enough graphite paper for everybody, another method you could do is you could just take a pencil and scribble on the back of this, and this same technique will work. But you're gonna have to do this over and over and over again until you have your whole paper filled up. This is the most time-consuming part of this project, is getting these designs traced on. So think about that when you're making these designs, because you want to be able to trace it. If you make a really, really complicated design, it's going to take you longer to trace. I don't think it's going to be very easy for you to freehand draw all the designs, because if you do that, they will not match. And when you fold this into its final glory as a folded object, you're going to want it to be the same. You want all your designs to be the same. If they're not the same, it's not good. So now you notice what I'm doing right here? I'm fixing it, right? Because it didn't really line up exactly with that line right there. And then I'm going to make these lines go all the way out to the corner like they were supposed to. Some parts of it you can freehand, right? If there are some parts of your design that are easy, then you can freehand that and then you know, trace the rest, whatever you have to do. But then eventually you're going to trace that in all of these sections, and it's going to look good. And then you can start coloring it. But that's the plan.